Hey everyone, it's Laura Klein with Organic Authority, and welcome to Organic Authority's Wellness Warrior Facebook Live show. We are thrilled to have you. My name again is Laura Klein, and I'm the co-founder of Organic Authority. I want to welcome you to the show. This show is part of Organic Authority's mission to change the world one reader at a time by inspiring change through conscious living and empowering individuals to live that change. And part of that change is inspiring you to take control of your health and become your own health advocate so you can live a peak performance lifestyle on your terms. One way to do that is to learn from our wellness warriors who we feature on this show who are doing just that, creating change and making the world a better place. Today's wellness warrior is Dani Furgeson. Dani is a nutritionist and founder and podcast host of Detoxing with Dani and works with women to achieve optimal gut health, glowing skin, and a gorgeous you. Detoxing with Dani is meant to help any woman who has struggled to figure out the root cause of what is causing her undiscovered digestive problems, which are causing skin or weight loss issues. Through various intake questionnaires and lab testing, Dani is able to get to the root cause of why you might be struggling with your digestion, skin problems, and weight loss issues. And together, you form a personalized protocol that fits with your diet and lifestyle. And yes, you can keep the wine and chocolate. Thank goodness. It is Dani's belief that we as women should be able to live a healthy and happy life free of chronic gut issues and skin conditions that could hinder us from feeling and looking our best and achieving a life of our own. Dani is a podcast host and graduate of the Natural Healing Institute in Encinitas, California, and received her bachelor's degree in agricultural business from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. She's an avid home chef and yogi and enjoys quiet mornings at home, hiking in nature, and anything food related. Love it. All right. So today we are going to talk about gut health and acne from the inside out. Welcome, Dani.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. So I'm really excited to talk about today's topic because not a lot of people know that there is a connection between our gut health and acne. Like, what gives? How could this be possible? What's going on?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know, and unfortunately, acne is becoming a larger issue, especially for like younger women in their 20s and early 30s. Usually it's something we have to deal with when we're going through puberty and we have a lot of hormones rushing through us, which is normal and natural, but this kind of onslaught of more skin issues and just not feeling comfortable in your skin, I find is becoming more of an issue. And it really all begins in the gut, which is something that's very new. And a lot of people will look at me like, what are you talking about? My gut has nothing to do with my skin. And there's that old phrase of you are what you eat. And it really rings true in this scenario because whatever you're putting into your system, that is going into your digestive system, and your digestion is what is going to basically create new skin for you, create your energy, and really give you a vibrance. And if you're not eating vibrant whole foods, then you're not going to look very vibrant. And this is something that took me a while to really realize and understand because I did have my own personal journey with acne and going from doctor to doctor. No one could figure out what was wrong. It was frankly destroying my life because I would wake up in the mornings and that's the first thing you see. Like you just don't want to see another blemish or another acne, or I mean, it was even on my back. It was everywhere. And so it wasn't until I finally kind of took a step back and listen to my body, because that's something that I think a lot of us don't do enough of, is really get in tune and quiet our mind and quiet the noise around us and listen to what our body is telling us. Because I do think that our bodies can heal and use food as medicine if we allow it to. And that's a key thing, is if you allow it to. If you're constantly seeking an answer from someone else outside of you, you might not ever find the answer because they don't know you better than you know yourself. So yeah, that's kind of where it all began. And
And you struggled with it yourself, isn't that correct? We talked a little bit about that in our conversation before the show, and you had your own little journey with it as well.
I did. I had severe cystic acne, which for those of you who don't know, cystic acne is different than just like any old type of blemish where you might get a red spot and there's like a little whitehead that you usually pop and everything's fine and you put a little like zit cream on there and you're good to go. Cystic acne never really surfaces. It's just kind of like the best way I can explain it is like a boil under your skin that's just red and painful. And sometimes it'll go away. Like I would have to go to the dermatologist sometimes and they would actually have to like put some sort of cortisone into the cyst in order to just get it to like calm down, which is terrible. Not what I loved to do because I try to keep things very natural, non-toxic, stuff like that. But when you're in pain and like, I would even just like brush my skin or something like that and it would be so painful. But I struggled with that for about 2 years, like the better half of 2 years, was on and off different birth control pills, was on and off different types of acne medications, on and off different topical treatments, seeing so many different doctors, and no one could figure it out. And the entire time I was struggling with this, something inside of me was saying, it's in your gut. Like I literally had a gut feeling. It was something inside that was not balanced. Something was off. And I did my own research. I'm very much a person who wants scientific evidence or some sort of research or something concrete to tell me why I should be taking something or why something is happening to me. So I did my own research while I was going to all these doctor's appointments. And I kind of had a feeling that maybe I had candida and I got the candida test and that came back negative, which was just like crushing to me because I thought for sure this was going to be it. And then I finally found a naturopathic doctor who spent 2 hours with me, my very first appointment, which is so unheard of. Most of my appointments with other doctors were probably 15 minutes at the most.
Oh yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, it was, and they had one hand on the door, like, okay, tell me what you want and I'll eat, and here's a prescription, and then they move on to the next.
Yeah.
But I finally found a naturopathic doctor who was very upfront and said, sometimes acne is very difficult to figure out. If you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you. So he did give me a protocol in the beginning. It didn't work. I came back to him and I said, it's not really doing anything. And he goes, okay, that's fine. We obviously didn't hit the nail on the head the first go around. And he goes, let's check out what's going on in your gut. And so he ordered a lab test that kind of looked at the different bacterias, the levels of them, good and bad, any type of yeast that was going on. And I had a serious yeast imbalance in my gut. And all of us we naturally have yeast in our gut. It needs to be there. We can't live without it. But when it becomes unbalanced, that's when things go wrong. And that's basically what I had. And no doctor could figure that out.
So is this the same as your bacterial flora in your gut?
It's similar. So there's about 1,000 different species of bacterial flora in your gut, and we have like trillions of them in us. So there's 1,000 different types of species, and then there's like hundreds of thousands of those different species to get you billions and trillions of gut flora. It's more than our DNA and all of our cells combined. So it's rolled into that. Yeast is part of that bacteria that we need, but in a certain balance.
So if we're out of balance and we have like missing or very low certain types of beneficial flora, like what can we do, and how do we test it? I mean, how do you find out, and what would be the clues, I guess, outside of acne that you perhaps have like this imbalance in your gut?
Sure. So for a lot of people, sometimes it does manifest as a digestive issue where you eat anything and like you try so many different diets no matter what you eat, you get a stomach ache. That's a very clear-cut sign that your gut is not working, something is out of balance. And that's the easy way to find out. But it can also manifest. For me, it manifested as acne. For someone else, it might manifest as really achy joints, especially in the morning when they get out of bed. Their feet hurt, their hands hurt, their knees hurt.
Is that a sign of inflammation too?
Yeah, totally. So your gut, we're finding out more and more thanks to the Microbiome Project, which is kind of like the DNA project that the government put on to figure out how our gut microbiome works and how it's related to every single thing in the body, from your heart health to your brain health to inflammation to disease, everything. And if your gut is not processing food properly, you can become highly inflamed because it's not getting the proper nutrients that you need in order to combat that inflammation. So the achy joints are due to the inflammation, but the inflammation is due to a gut imbalance. So that's why I'm always stressing to people, figure out why you are experiencing these symptoms. And even if you get one answer, so the inflammation is a great example. You have achy joints. Clearly you have inflammation, but why do you have inflammation? Like, kind of go deeper into it and figure out, why is your body not able to fight off this inflammation? Is it because a poor diet, or do you have a good diet, but maybe you have some sort of gut permeability or gut dysbiosis, meaning that bacteria is out of balance, or you might have leaky gut, or you might have something more significant that we need to address. So I cannot stress enough to find a doctor, find a naturopath, find a nutritionist, find somebody that will advocate for you and help you figure out the true root cause of whatever symptom you're experiencing.
Now, are there specific tests that somebody should ask for if they actually, so say somebody is experiencing symptoms, but what if somebody isn't experiencing symptoms, but they actually just kind of want to know what's going on in their gut and check it, so and see where they are and like have a baseline? How would you go about that?
Yeah, so there are new tests that are coming out. It is a newer form of technology, basically using DNA sequencing to figure out what sort of different types of bacteria are in your gut and the balance. A simple test that is actually what I did in order to figure out what was wrong with me is a stool sample. It's a microbiology stool sample. Almost any doctor.
You get that from your doctor?
Yeah, almost any doctor can do it, or they have some great resources now. I use a website called Walk-In Labs, and you can actually order this test for yourself. Okay. So if you have a doctor that's just kind of not fully on board with what you're doing, you can go do it yourself. You don't need a doctor. You don't need a nutrition. Like, you don't need really anyone. And you can do blood testing as well. They have
but you probably want somebody to help you interpret the results, though, correct?
You do. And so if you were to go do it by yourself, I would definitely find someone that you could reach out to and say, hey, I had a stool sample done, a microbiology stool sample done. Are you able to help me go over the results and read it to me? Sometimes Walk-In Labs, I think, will provide or recommend a practitioner for you. But if you're someone who thinks you might want to work with this person longer term, I would kind of do your own research and find someone maybe local or that you connect with and feel like they truly understand you.
Okay.
So that's a good one. There is other microbiome tests that just basically look at so the test I just talked about doesn't go as in depth as this other microbiome test called organic genetics. And they look at the species of bacteria. So the first stool sample that I talked about just looks at the balance. So is it in balance? Is it out of balance? Do you have any sort of pathogen or possible harmful yeast that is in your system that could be causing some of these symptoms? So that's what the first test does. The second organic genetics test looks at specifically the bacteria species and actually lists it into this really cool pie chart.
Wow.
And it doesn't list all of them because, like I said, there's about 1,000 different types of species, but it lists, I think, your top, and then it goes into detail about your top 4 bacteria that are most prevalent in your system, and if it's good and bad, what it will relate to. And it'll actually break it down into your fitness, your energy, the beauty, and inflammation. So it'll look at all of the different types of bacteria and relate it to how this bacteria relates to your fitness level, how it relates to your energy level, how it relates to your beauty, and how it relates to your inflammation. And then they also recommend different types of foods to help increase or decrease depending on what your level's at. So
yeah, that was my next question. So once you have this information and you find out, okay, you've got these imbalances, what can you do to help correct it? I mean, it sounds like they give you recommendations, but again, you might want some guidance on that, right?
Yeah. So the Phoebe test, that organic genetics test, they just give you food recommendations. So if you feel like you have you're not dealing with too many severe symptoms and you think food can definitely get you there, I think that's a great way to go. Some people do need some more intervention or some more severe intervention using supplements, probiotics, prebiotics, fiber. And so if you're kind of in that boat, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing a really good probiotic, but you absolutely need to make sure you're having a prebiotic and fiber with it. So basically think of the prebiotic and the fiber as what helps your probiotics stick to your gut. Because I can't tell you how many people probably—
Well, let's define what a prebiotic is though too, because I think a lot of people, they know what probiotics are, and then prebiotics I think have kind of recently been semi-recently kind of been introduced into the media. But how is a prebiotic different than a probiotic?
Yeah, so the prebiotic is actually what feeds the probiotic. Okay. So if you have a probiotic in a capsule, the prebiotic is basically going to help the probiotic survive through your digestive system and get down into your colon, which is where you want a majority of your bacteria to be. You don't want it to be released in the stomach because your gastric acid is just going to kill it all. You don't want it to be in your small and large intestine because that's when food is still going through and being absorbed, and you don't want anything to interrupt that. You really want to get your probiotics down to your colon, and that's what prebiotics are going to do. Some foods that have prebiotics in them that we can eat are like artichokes, asparagus, broccoli, celery. So when you eat celery and it's kind of stringy and kind of like that is the prebiotic that we are not digesting. The probiotic is digesting.
Okay, so so should you be eating the prebiotic with your probiotic?
Ideally, you can. It's not absolutely necessary for you to reap the benefits. Although if you're someone who finds it hard to get in green vegetables or celery or broccoli or artichokes, I usually recommend people either make sure that they're having some sort of added fiber, maybe to their smoothie in the mornings, or that they're taking a probiotic that has a prebiotic already in the capsule.
What are some examples of some good fiber?
Chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds. You can throw spinach into your smoothies, and that's a good fiber. Or there are some decent fibers that you can get off of, like at a Whole Foods Market or a Sprouts, or even on different websites that you can throw into your smoothie, like psyllium husks. If you're doing something like that, though, just be careful because sometimes they can constipate people if you're not used to doing that on a daily basis. So start slow.
Build it up.
Yeah, exactly. So I usually tell people, start with a tablespoon. I think they give you this big old honkin' scoop. Don't start with that because you'll just end up being very uncomfortable.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But people have, it's all good intention. So just start small and work your way up. But if you're doing like chia seeds, flax seeds, or hemp seeds, those are pretty manageable for the gut and the people to incorporate right away. And I usually say, again, start with a tablespoon and try to work up to 2 or 3 tablespoons throughout the day. I mean, I'm such a fan of a smoothie in the morning because you can get so much good stuff in there and be set up for the day. But if that's not your thing, then like a chia seed pudding or putting it on your salads or something just to kind of get it in is definitely necessary.
Okay. So let's talk about low-grade infections that go undiagnosed. How does somebody know that they have a low-grade infection? Like what are some of the symptoms?
Yeah. They're hard to diagnose, or they're hard to really figure out unless you do some sort of lab testing like we talked about earlier, because unless you are working with a doctor who is willing to run a bunch of different testing, which can be hard just because they're put in a weird position with insurance and all that kind of stuff. So unless you're paying out of pocket with cash, sometimes it can be hard to get those tests going. So that's why I usually recommend walk-in labs. But if you are really sticking to a really good diet and you're exercising fairly regularly, and I'm not talking about doing like a HIIT workout 5 days a week, I'm saying at least you're going on a walk for half an hour once a day, or you're doing some yoga, or you're moving, and you're drinking a lot of water, and you feel like you're really doing all you can to live a healthy lifestyle, and you're still experiencing some of these symptoms, you could have a low-grade infection like a bacteria imbalance or some sort of yeast, or maybe you have a virus that hasn't necessarily reared its ugly head, but it's just—
So these digestive issues could be a low-grade infection as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's putting pressure and strain on your immune system. And when that happens, I mean, so many things can go wrong when your immune system isn't functioning right or feels like there's an invader, to the point where you might eat a piece of, I don't know, pineapple, and your body is like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. We need to go in and attack this thing. And you're like, it's just a piece of pineapple. Why is my body freaking out? So a lot of times, if like I said, you're sticking to a good healthy diet, but you find you have a lot of food intolerances, or you just can't handle a lot of different types of foods. You're really sensitive to environmental toxins. I mean, the smell of perfume or even the smell of like fumes just sends you into a tailspin. Can kind of be an indication that maybe you need to look a little bit deeper and see if you have a low-grade bacterial infection or a virus or something that needs to be addressed with some sort of supplementation or even more severe stuff.
Okay. And a naturopath doctor could probably test for this. Is that correct?
Yeah. I usually tell people, if you feel like you really need to get blood work done, lab testing done, find a good naturopath, because they are able to prescribe and order lab testing. And some people's insurance will actually cover for a naturopathic doctor. Not all, but some of them will. And they can really work with you at like a whole body health level and not just addressing the symptom.
Okay. So the gut health is just related to so much. I mean, we're talking about acne. We're also talking about digestive issues. We're also talking about bacterial infections and viruses. I mean, it's pretty staggering. I feel like a few years ago, we didn't even, maybe like 5-10 years ago, we weren't really talking about it this in depth. So perhaps maybe it is a good idea just to get your gut checked, literally get a lab test done and see if you're in balance or out of balance. I know I had mine done probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and everything was fine. But I think it's important that people listen to kind of like those symptoms, and and particularly if they persist, and if a doctor pushes you off or brushes you off, perhaps it's time to go to the next one and find somebody who does listen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't stress enough. I had to do this for myself and kind of be my own health advocate when I went to all these different doctors and I
Right.
knew something was wrong, but they
Right.
kept telling me I was fine and giving me that clean bill of health. If
Right.
you feel like something is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
keep pursuing it. Keep trying to find that person that is going to be there and support you and get you through whatever it is. Because even if you can't really explain what's wrong, you just say, I don't feel like myself, something is off.
Yeah.
That's your body and that's your intuition telling you something.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important. Like you said in the beginning, we all need to slow down and kind of tune into our bodies. And really listen to what's going on, because if we ignore those little whispers and in terms of hints of, you know, some imbalances in the body, they can show up as really big imbalances and diseases later on. So super important stuff. So let's you know, give the listeners, viewers, something to leave with. What are your top foods for gut support? And we have several lists here. Let's see how many we can hit. But what are the top foods people should be eating to really help support their gut bacteria?
Yeah, so fiber is definitely one of them, kind of like we touched upon. I would also say if you feel like you just want to kind of give your stomach a boost, your gut, your digestion, your gut bacteria, I know it's kind of a big thing right now and it's hot, but collagen really is beneficial for the gut. You do have to be leery sometimes. I'm always leery when something big hits the market and it just goes like bonkers. But collagen has been found to really help support your gut, help with any sort of leaky gut or gut permeability you might be dealing with. And
how is it collagen is helpful to the gut? I mean, I understand how it's helpful to the bones and your hair and your nails and all that kind of stuff.
So collagen is what helps to build your intestinal lining. And if there's any sort of permeability, leaky gut, and leaky gut is just, think of it kind of like a fishnet stocking when they tear. That's kind of what your digestion, it looks like. And so when those holes get too big, particles of food get to leak out and you want to help mend those back together. And that's what the collagen is going to do. It's going to help to rebuild that bridge, essentially.
And what are some other top foods people should be eating?
Yeah, bone broth is also a great one and can also be really soothing if you feel like you struggle with stomach aches a lot, which I have been there and I totally get. Turmeric is also really great if you're having any sort of inflammation issues like those achy joints that we talked about. Oh gosh, I have a list here. Oh, wild blueberries are also great because they have, and wild, not just organic blueberries, but wild blueberries actually have a higher concentration of antioxidants, which again are going to help with inflammation and also provide really great anthocyanins, which are a type of antioxidant for your gut system. Omega-3 fatty acids are also great too. I know fats with kind of the keto phase right now are a big thing, but if you want to look at specifically omega-3 fatty acids, so getting in
those sources come from
wild caught salmon is great. Chia seeds, flax seeds are also good resources for those as well. They kind of help to clean the gut out and really kind of roto-rooter it in a way.
Which is important.
Yeah, along with the fiber, because you really do, you want to make sure that you are going to the bathroom every day. I can't stress that enough as well, which the fiber and all of these foods we're talking about will also help.
How many times though? Because I don't think people have an idea of like how many times. And you should specify number 1 or 2.
Well, I think you should go number 2 at least one time a day, but make it a good one.
And if you're not, then what should you do?
And if you're not, make sure you're drinking water. That is the biggest thing that I have to tell people all the time. Yeah. And if you're drinking water though, and going number 1 all of the time, you're not hydrating your system.
Interesting. So how do you hydrate?
You want to make sure that you're getting in. So if you have a good source for spring water, that has a really good balance, like clean spring water too. It has a good balance of electrolytes. But if you're going to the bathroom all the time, number one specifically, your electrolyte balance is probably off. So apples, celery, cucumbers are a great way to get those electrolytes back into your system.
Okay.
Can't get those in. They do have decent electrolyte tablets out on the market now. Just be wary of any added fake sugar or sugar in general. Or a pinch of sea salt, truthfully, in your cup of water. A pinch of sea salt or pink Himalayan salt works just as good too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And now if somebody's struggling with acne, what are the top foods that they should be eating to help clear that up and help build the gut health?
Yeah, so vitamin C is really important for skin health. So citrus fruits are great. Wild blueberries, again, are going to be amazing because they have those antioxidants. So anything, vitamin C, antioxidants, zinc is also really good. Zinc you find more in fish. That's more of something that's easier taken in as a supplement form and not so much in foods.
But you want to take, if you're taking the supplement, you want to take it with food though too, because it can
kind of tear up your stomach.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
Yeah. And then some good, I guess herbs or food, garlic, onions, rosemary, those are all great for your skin as well because they also make sure that your gut is in balance. Garlic is amazing for killing off any sort of weird pathogens or bacteria that could be growing in there that might be on our food, especially if we're eating out a lot. So,
and does it matter if it's raw or cooked, or maybe a little bit of both?
I would say a healthy balance of both. I'm all about moderation, and so don't ever go too far one way or the other.
Yeah.
Be aware, though, sometimes people can't handle raw garlic very well, which could be good. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then 2 teas that I really recommend to people who are struggling with acne are milk thistle and dandelion tea, because those actually help to nourish your liver. And I think people forget about the liver and the gallbladder as being part of your digestive system. And it's all one thing. If you didn't have your liver and your gallbladder, I mean, I know people are getting their gallbladders taken out, but it's all one thing. And so to really help, and the liver has to deal with so much stuff. It has to deal with so much junk, so many toxins.
Well, it's literally detoxing our body. So everything that we put into it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so the milk thistle and dandelion tea will just kind of help to nourish it, keep it cleaned out, keep it healthy. And if you like to have a glass of wine every night, it'll help to clear that out too.
Can't hurt, right?
No, yeah. I mean, red wine has antioxidants.
Right. Resveratrol.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And so you touched on a little bit, but if you want to kind of help your liver detox a little bit, what are some foods people could eat to kind of help detox your liver and support your liver? I mean, it needs support. I think you're right. Yeah. We forget about it.
Yeah. An easy way to remember this is red fruits and vegetables help nourish your liver because it's red.
That's great.
Find really simple. So beets are really good. Red-skinned apples are really good. Strawberries, raspberries. Beets are the most nourishing to the liver, especially if you can handle beet juice. Yeah. That actually, it goes straight into your liver pretty much with all of those good enzymes and can really do a lot of good things for your liver and your gallbladder and your blood. It just kind of is a great tonic.
I love beet juice. I don't know what it is. I love it with ginger and it's really good. It's really good. All right, Dani, I think it looks like we're at the top of the hour here. Or our half hour. If people want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Yeah, so I tend to hang out the most on Instagram. I'm at Detoxing with Dani there, or I also have a podcast that comes out. I have a new episode every week. It's just Detoxing with Dani. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. So yeah, those are the 2 main areas I like to hang out on.
Okay, and what about your website?
Yes, detoxingwithdani.com. If anyone's interested, I always do free consultations if you just want to talk and see if maybe you need to look into getting a little bit more support in your health journey. I'm here for you.
Well, and I think it's important, you know, if somebody wants to get these tests done, and if they're experiencing these symptoms, I think it's really fantastic that we actually can go and get these tests done and then enlist somebody like you to help interpret the results and guide us on that healing path. And it is a path, it's a journey. It's not an overnight, you know, silver bullet pill. And I think people have to understand that. So thank you so much, Dani, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful to have you here. And thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't done so already, go to organicauthority.com, and in the upper right corner, you can sign up for our newsletter to stay in the know. And when we have these awesome Facebook Live shows with more wellness warriors. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Thanks, Dani.
Thank you. Bye.